Greetings, humanity. I'm Jim, and I have decided to talk about some stuff today, a little bit. It's I was going to attempt to play a game, and then I found out that the game has not in fact been completed yet, and they don't actually want the stuff that they have done streamed yet. So I have. So I backed slowly out of that, and will now be doing this. We're going to chat for a little while with all one or two of you who may be lingering about. I actually had a request for this a bit ago from one of the folks who sometimes hops in the chat on this unstable dais. They had asked about talking about the asked me to talk about a bunch of different decks of cards and stuff that I like to use when I'm running games, sort of just creative prompts and what have you. So I figured I'd do that, and we'll see where that goes. There's I also might jump onto some as we go. Well, we'll see. We'll see how this goes. I may jump onto some websites or what have you while we're talking about this, if we want to go into detail about some of these games and how they work and all of that. So I'm gonna go ahead and let me make the music even quieter. I don't know how loud it is for you folks. I just want to get it to where it's at a good point for me. And actually, come to think of it, let me just take these off. This is going to be playing in a loop over and over. I don't have to actually hear it while I'm talking, though. So, games and what have you. I hope everyone's doing well. I'm going to, I guess we'll start with some of the ones that I've been using most often recently, and just kind of go from there. It's been these, and again, all of these are ones that I've used within the last few months at least, in one way or another. And I'll talk about that also. Probably there's one deck of cards I have not actually actively used as of yet that might be interesting to take a look at. But we'll figure out what we want to do there. In the meantime, I figured we can at least just sort of chat for a bit, sort of see what happens. So something that I guess I will start. A lot of these are things from other games. Some of these are more sort of generic things. I guess I will talk about the. I was trying to create an order for this as we go. But we'll see what's happening. Hello. Hey, greetings. Hi, how's it going? Hey, Wandering DM, greetings to you. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it. I'm just going to talk about these different things that I have. These, so a lot of these are sort of generics. We're going to talk about the generic ones first, and kind of see where we land. And let's see, shall I talk about the location cards first or the plot builder cards? I think we will ease into this because I don't use the plot builder cards as often. I'll talk about those in a moment. First, I will talk about location cards. So this is a series of cards there was a Kickstarter for. I don't think these are actually in print right now. These are the person that created them. They were on a Kickstarter, and I didn't. He created even more than these, and I have 3 of these decks. They're called location cards. They're done by Rogue Comet, and there was a limited run of them. They finished them all, then that was it. So that they're very useful. I've been using these a lot of late. So you've got they come in these little boxes that you get, and basically they have different locations on them that you can use. The one that I've been using most often, the deck I've been using most often, is the modern deck, the modern settings deck of cards, and so these. There are this many. I didn't. It doesn't tell me how many there are in the box, and I didn't count. But it was a use location cards to quickly create role-playing adventure scenes on the fly. The Game Master side of the card has 3 components. It has a. This will make it much easier if I look at it. So you have, like, say this is you have a different in the say this is the modern one, right? So it's like you have a hangar bay, you have like a lobby, you have a stage theater, subway station, tech store, etc., etc. I'm gonna pull the subway station here, and what it has now, this I've been showing you is what they call the Game Master side of the card, right? And so they have it has the thumbnail map, which allows you to quickly sketch the location for players during the game. The key areas are labeled and can lead to adventure ideas. A room with trigger-happy free sprinklers might lead to interesting results. And quick adventure scenarios are genre-specific, but many could be easily adapted and used in any setting. And they have the player side of the card, which is a larger, unmarked version of the map. You can toss it across the table to the players for them to inspect. And if you want, have the players draw the map while you work on planning and setting up the scene. So, yeah. I mean, this is really good for to have quick layouts, like you're saying. Yeah, absolutely. These are very good for that. And I've been using these primarily lately in the Don't Rest Your Head game. But anywhere where it's like you're in a place like a city, a modern city, and you don't want to make a map of the city. You don't want to map out each thing that the players are necessarily going to run into, because if you've got a thing where a specific location doesn't really matter so much as what's happening with the characters, like they're going to run into whatever you need them to run into. But you don't know where that is necessarily. You can, and so what I do is I'll like randomly draw a card, and it's like road intersection. That's where this happens. But I find it very useful for that, just so that I can have a play. It is a thing where it's like they do come alphabetically. The cards, initially when you get them, they are out in alphabetical order. I shuffled them, which is, it's anathema. You mustn't do that. How will you find the location you're looking for? And the answer is the location I'm looking for is one I don't know yet. So just the way that I jam, I use a lot of things randomly to try to sort of figure out stuff. But say it's like if I want the players to run into a particular, say there's a particular nightmare that is looking for them, it doesn't matter to me exactly where it's going to show up, but the players have run into a new location. They're like, okay, you're going to round the corner, and what's around the corner? Well. And I see, for example, if I'm just, again, pulling these top cards, and I want to give them choices, I try not to pull more than, like, 3. Because if I do that, then I find 3 is a good number for a lot of things, as far as, people holding things in their heads goes, right? So I say, you get into this intersection, and let's see, so the 3 cards I pulled, let's say we have subway station, we have pawn shop, and we have motel room. Those are the 3 cards that I've pulled. So it means that there's, along one, and so I just basically tell them along one side of the street, there's a motel, with a motel parking lot that you can run into. Across the street from that, you see a pawn shop, and the entrance to a subway station. And then the players decide which way they go. And I pretty much sort of describe stuff from there. Now, I haven't used. I only rarely. I haven't used as much of the other parts of the cards, but you easily can. So, for example, say pawn shop, right? It says the areas that are described here. They've got A, B, and C. Area A, Area B, Area C, right? And Area A, it says merchandise shelves. These are the merchandise shelves here. All manner of gadgets and goods are on display. I'm getting older. I have to hold the card further away for me to be able to make out what it says. Gadgets and goods are on display from the floor to the ceiling, locked behind sliding glass panels. Area B, it says, is the main desk. That's like sort of a more central area. The sort of, well, an area where you have a desk in the middle of it, I should say. The items with the highest profit margins are kept behind the long, winding counter. And it says C is staff room. That's this little room up here. And it says staff room contains tools for appraising jewelry and a small but sturdy vault for storing cash and other liquid assets. So that immediately, it's just basically, okay, I've got a layout, I've got, the map, then I can sort of figure out where things are. If I need to just sort of grab a description, then I can do that from here. So that can be helpful in those cases. I don't really read them verbatim, as I just sort of glance at it and I use it for inspiration if I need to. I have other things that I, like websites that I go to try to generate random stuff. I might get into that a little bit later. We'll see. This is mostly about decks of cards this time, but we'll see. Then it says under here scenarios, which that's, if one needs to generate some degree of plot, say, for whatever, if you're wandered in. I mean, if it's something like they're running from something else and they run in here, it depends on if I want to. It's an important decision one has to make when one is improving. If you're going to open up the channels for there to be an additional plot shunted off, that could become anything. Got to be careful with that. And you're saying, okay, I like something that always stumps me in modern settings, kind of what businesses you see around you. Yeah, like drawing 3 cards things. Yeah, no, that's it's very helpful to me, because I cannot for the life of me. The thing is, the way that I work, I very much enjoy doing improvising things. The problem is, if it could be anything, if there's any number of things, it's very nebulous to me, and I can't, even if it's like a category of, what kind of businesses do you find downtown? It takes me a minute, the way my brain works. I reach and there's nothing there. So it helps me a lot to have choices, to have examples a list of examples in front of me I can just grab from. I know, given enough time, I can come up with stuff, but it's just like, ADHD. Sadly, the way my brain works, it doesn't work it out. But anyway, they have these scenarios listed on the bottoms of these cards that sometimes can be. It says the owner constantly, number 1, the owner constantly stares at customers. He thinks it discourages theft, but it really just drives people away. Number 2, the shop's jewelry appraising tools don't actually work. Price estimates are completely random. 3, the owner. Okay, having worked in a store that sold books secondhand once, you actually do kind of try to eyeball it, and you eventually come up with a system in your head as you're doing it. But I wouldn't call it completely random, but that would be funny if it actually were. But 3, the owner has an itchy trigger finger when it comes to protecting his establishment from potential robbers. 4, the shop is actually an undercover police operation to catch purveyors of stolen goods. So different layers of things you can throw in if you decide you would like to. I'd say just be careful as you don't spiral off into something, because I think it looks like it sort of goes from one thing to another. It goes from this card at least, it goes from something that's very very just sort of light on the surface, and then it goes deeper and deeper. So I like these cards quite a bit. These are the modern day ones. Again, it's got, dive bar, gun shop, apartment complex, orphanage, garrison, ranch, antique shop, oil rig, ruined castle. It has ruined castle in here. Strip mall, comedy club, city block, chemical warehouse. So it has a bunch of stuff. For modern day. I have also the fantasy deck and the sci-fi deck. So the sort of things you might find in the fantasy deck. You have like there's a Hatter's Boutique. There is this is like things you'd find in a fantasy village. Looks like what does this say? Tome and scroll shop with different hooks there. The different hooks they have, scenarios. Thieves that broke into the shop took, among other items, a book that tells how to free an imprisoned creature of terrible power. That's probably not going to be a problem for anyone. That's that doesn't mean any. That doesn't mean terrible things are going to happen later. I'm sure it's fine. Citadel. They have a citadel as like an example. Fortress, inner fortress fortified areas in case of breach of exterior walls. Scenarios. A spy has infiltrated a citadel to open the gates. A vampire has made it its lair. An army is invading and the tunnels are filled with kobolds. Various things of that nature that can happen in such a thing. And then, a blacksmith courthouse, bandit lair. You have a sacred shrine card. So these are, again, just sort of generic things. You can find Forest 2. They have a couple of forest layouts, it looks like. And it's by and large, it's setting agnostic. It should be. This one uses fantasy tropes, basically. So it just depends on what, you just change it for whatever you want. Isn't for a specific game. This is the sci-fi deck for location cards. And this has things like there's a hover car lot. It has a national park in here, but it's I think probably there's certain things. There's a chance I may have actually mixed things up, but some of these up. I will count these later, but it has. Let me set the national park aside. That might actually belong to something else. So this has a mine complex. It says here, for example, our artificial body parts store, birthing center facility, and they have there's a mega mall in here, mega mall setting, and rocket launch pad, pleasure den, parts shop, civic center, holding cells, eco-terrorist HQ, it says. Security center, hotel room, pharmaceuticals factory, conference room, cantina, mystical hermit's dwelling. I don't know if that's supposed to be for the sci-fi one or not. We'll have to see. I will look at that later. Yeah, some of these cards might have been, but then again, you can still have those in sci-fi. Gang hideout, virtual reality chamber, as a VR chamber sort of setting is the thing. Corporate high-rise, power station, laboratory, organ harvester. That's delightful. Automated defense station. They're just sort of different locations you'd have in different sort of sci-fi. Unless they count different games like Shadowrun as sci-fi, that makes sense. Yeah, there's some of these, like I said, some of these I might have actually. Well, I mean, you've got things like Dune and what have you, where you have people who sort of like more like mystics. But yeah, no, from the terminology on this card, for example, the mystical hermit's dwelling, it says it has a water tank, water condenser, and supply tank. And so, yeah, it says work area, workbench with parts and tools, environment control on wall, shelves with interesting memento. So this is definitely more modern. It's just that it's And it says for under the scenarios, the hermit studies psionics and will teach willing people. You know, so that kind of thing. That kind of mysticism, I think, is what they're talking about. That does belong in the sci-fi deck. The national park, I have no idea. It could be present day. It could be later. I don't know. I'll read it later. But yes, I am Jedi. You know, things of that nature. My grandfather referred to them as Jedi, because when back in the 80s, when he took me to see it, he was calling it that movie Return of the Jedi, as he saw it. I don't think he had seen a Star Wars film in his life, necessarily on purpose, as it were. He was very much a creature of World War II. I'll just put it that way. But you know, you'd think that has fighter pilots in it. He was not. He was in entertainment for the Army. But I digress. So location cards. The sad thing is, I don't think these are actually. I think these are out of print. I'm going to check Rogue Comet's site real quick, just to see. But yeah, I see that they're available on eBay. It looks like. Let me show you here the website if I can grab hold of it real quick, because that might be helpful to us. Adventure location cards. Here we go. So this is the Rogue Comet site. Obi-Wan is a homonym in French for garlic. Okay, yeah, that's. You know, sometimes these things happen. Let me move over to the left here, see if that'll help. So location cards. The last update was in 2017. It says this update. It was a Kickstarter. And you see, they also had background cards and traps and riddles. And I kind of now, as useful as these damn things have turned out to be, I kind of wish that I had sprung for some of these others as well. But alas, I did not. I did not spring for these others. I was a fool! Because these seemed interesting. So this is they were shipping in January of 2018. It looked like, apparently. That's apparently when this happened. They make a thing called Dungeonesque, but I don't think these specifically are available anymore. Is the only problem. You have to get them on like eBay. Like, I did a search, right, for the Rogue Comet location cards, and they have them on eBay. And you sort of have to kind of look around. I don't think they have them on drive-thru. This is Game Master Codex. Where is Rogue Comet in here? Is it even in here? Are there things? Do things exist? Rogue Comet. It would probably be in drive-thru cards, wouldn't it? You would think. You would think that would actually be more where things are. Yeah, they only have they have this product called Dungeonesque, but I don't think they actually have location cards, which is sad. Let me check drive-thru cards really quick, because you know, if they're anywhere, right? That's not going to help anyone if I don't put a space there. Anything from Rogue Comet? No. Okay. So probably it's probably just one of those things where it's like it's all out of print. Yeah. Product status, Rogue Comet. Location cards. Adventure locations. So PDF, if there are PDFs available though, one would think you can at least get those. It would be nice if they set it up for print on demand. But, yeah. These were all things. It looks like they took care of that back then and then wiped their hands of it. So, yeah, you only found secondhand. Yeah, I think that's pretty much where we're sitting with that. Like, you can find them on eBay. It looks like for, let's see, Modern is going for around, these are going for around like $20. It looks like. So that's a thing. Rogue Comet. I'm curious. Background cards. What were those? Walmart. You can apparently order them from Walmart. They're out of stock. Flame. Friend. Foe. Family. This might have been useful. Darn it! I know. I kind of wish these were still available somewhere. But alas. But alas. Yeah, sold out. Even if you find them at individual places. You're going to Walmart later, you would have picked those up. Would that they were available. Walmart claims to have a lot of things which are out of stock. That's fair. December 2018, we're shutting down the office until the new year. What? It's just I'm just Googling things and finding them here, and that's about it. So I don't think, yeah, barring going into deeper examination of stuff, I don't think that they would necessarily have them. Would have been nice to find out about the traps and riddles and the background cards, but alas, no such luck. But that's okay. One wonders, what's that out of print game company? Noble Knight? Do they still do this? You never know. Does Rogue Comet, do they have stuff by Rogue Comet in here? Do they? The search isn't even working right now. There it is. Boot Hill, they did Boot Hill, is that right? Or am I just reading into this? Yeah, Dungeon-esque they're doing. I have a feeling they've not done stuff. Yes, out of stock fantasy location cards versus. All right. Well, that's enough. That's enough. That's enough. Enough of this falderall. Let me move on to something else. Yeah, looks like Noble Knight, even they're out of stock, which is sad. But in any case, not that I was, chomping at the bit to order anything new right now, but I do think that it's sad because these are damnably useful, and it would be nice if folks could get a hold of them somehow other than through eBay. But it looks like right now eBay is the best bet. I'm just sort of hover there, waiting for things to show up. But the next thing I can show you, though, are the other generic thing that I use are called Plot Builder cards. Now, these are made by somebody else. I don't use these a lot. 72 cards to help you build story, plots, and twists for writing and gaming. It says here MN Games, which one is curious. But, so these basically, the way these work, it even tells you, you have methods and motives and characters and results and organizations and twists that one can generate for both fantasy, modern, and future settings. It says, draw one card from each category to create an instant plot from the highest position in the realm to the lowest, ideal for creative writing, role-playing games, and improvisational theater. And so I use these sometimes. The cards look like this on the back, and on the front they look like this. Some variation on this. This is a character card. And this one, it just says servant. One in service to another, whether it be through legal means or not, paid or unpaid, usually motivated by need rather than greed. And see, in fantasy setting, they go they have them for the different fantasy, modern, and sci-fi settings. Essentially, different interpretations of that. Like you could have a chambermaid, or it could be a modern day a butler or a waiter. And in sci-fi, it could be a robot, a subservient AI, or a bodyguard. And you can draw either a character or organization card, it says here, as an additional thing if you want to add things onto it. They have things like servant, individual, ruling kin, a member of something. Different generic types of characters that can come up. There's like ruling kin, the family of a nation's ruler through blood, tradition, or law. They often enjoy the trappings of prestige simply due to their relationship. And I mean, you can turn that into a number of things. It's like that can be a CEO, that can be a member of a clan, or it can literally be a head of state. Then you have people who are cogs, members of organizations, that kind of thing. You have, it says here, adjunct. Those who sit at the table of the ruler in either an official or unofficial capacity. And you've got, it says here, for example, vizier, royal advisor, knight of the round table under fantasy, under present day it has, under modern it says senator, cabinet officer, industry benefactor. Sci-fi it says like director of the board, imperial auditor, corporate sponsor, things of that nature. So yeah, the little icons on here, it's you have them basically just mean fantasy, modern, sci-fi. Are kind of the three different sort of categories that they throw these into. And so those are the character cards. I keep these separate. They're all like in a deck, but I keep them separated so that I like shuffle these little mini decks individually, but I don't. I have to be careful. And they have different interpretations: liege, leader, aristocrat, sage, successor, director, etc. Are these different types? A director can be like a high priest or a CEO. They keep it vague. As ruler and leader, it has here as two different things. But so it's just so you can get an idea, and so then, like you have, say you have organizations in here also. You want a group to be involved of some kind. This is an organization card. And this is for a union. And it's the voice of the common person seeking to better their conditions, may be officially recognized or an underground movement. Under the fantasy icon, they say they list Scrivener's Foundation, Craft Union, or Labor Union as examples. They have modern setting, Manufacturing Union, Labor Union, Builders Federation. Under the sci-fi setting, they have a Stevedores Union, Navigator House, Planetary Rights Union, that kind of thing. And so this has, different types. They have military school, business, civilian uprising, civilian uprising, oppressed uprising, a sphere, organization dealing with a specific aspect of an industry, police, business uprising, department, cooperative, a body that attempts to regulate a specific industry, not always recognized, and religion. Oh, you need those for Amber? Yeah, I mean, anything where it's like you need a group, right? And you can start hammering it out. And obviously, you just have to, you have to fit it to whatever it is that you're using. But like, then we have motive cards for, you know, different motivations for things. This is a motive card. Why do you do a thing? Control, this one says. Seeking the ability to manipulate a person or organization to their own ends. And then is under a little further, and this has like all three of the icons on it because, you know, these are more generic. But it says, whilst not actively seeking power, the character is attempting to manipulate control from the rightful person/people. Did our plans flop? Yes, our plans for we were gonna do a game here, and it turns out the game's actually the production on the game is ground to a halt, and they don't want the unfinished game shown online. I was a Kickstarter backer for it, and so I have an earlier copy, but they don't want it. As it turns out, I was starting to do it, and then the screen came up, says, "Don't stream this," and I'm like, okay. It's like, guess we won't be doing that. So we're doing this instead. But different motives these cards are. Reasons for doing things: control, power, ambition, love, bestowment. An external source is providing something deliciously tempting, and the character seeks to get more. As from drug addiction to supernatural abilities or possession, this motive has the character in thrall to the one who supplies the goods. Revenge, reputation, madness, wealth, jealousy, secrets, fame. If you need a reason why somebody's doing a thing, these are good for that. I'm just making my little, making a little spread of cards down here. And you have method. These are method cards. How are they accomplishing the thing that they are doing? Faith, supply, bribery, slander. So for example, here's the slander card. It says, destroying the reputation of another through the use of words and misdirection. Attack the man, not the message. This ad hominem attack is a favorite method of political parties and candidates, people who don't have facts on their side, and those who appeal to the knee-jerk reactions that everyone possesses. How complex of stories can you make with these? Also, how difficult is it to have these generated plots fit into a larger narrative? Well, I mean, the thing is, these are all seeds. These are all sort of story seeds. I think, you know, when I'm using them, say, in the midst of running an RPG, I just sort of use them as springboards more than anything else. So you can get as complicated as you want. But you have to, you know, these in and of themselves are very simple, which is, I think, very helpful. Because then you add details based on what you're already working on, the larger work that you've got going. They have here, like, let's see, control, misdirection, seduction, guilt, and blackmail. Those are the other methods that they have here. Two other types of cards I'm going to show you. Then I'm going to try to do do an example. Heavens help us. Cultist Simulator. Do I have Cultist Simulator? I've seen Cultist Simulator. I don't think I've actually purchased it, but it's like on a list of games to check out. Result cards. What happens? Well, here's a thing that happens, potentially. destroy ally, promote self, promote ideology, promote ally, destroy neutral, destroy self. So for example, promote ally, a result here, potential result. To bring good tidings to and to further the cause of a family member, friend, or ally, the character endeavors to enhance the social, political, or financial situation of a friendly character or organization. This may be in an effort to return a favor, or as a display of gratitude, or perhaps there's some other motivation at play. And they suggest drawing an allied character or organization card as part of this. Destroy a neutral thing. Those most affected will be in the neutral party, the innocent in the plot. Destroy theology, the denouncement of a religious teaching. Mostly destroying and promoting things are what happens. Destroy ideology. Promote opposition, giving benefit to a hated foe or an antagonistic party. Why give an advantage to an enemy or competitor? So this is often, say, the result of a thing. And then the final type of card they have here is the twist cards. Which is, what is the odd thing that's involved here? What's the little plot twist that can get thrown in as a result of what's going on? Switched. The character is not the person initially suspected or has assumed the role of more than one person, for example. Often you see that in Shakespeare. Fatality. The character dies unexpectedly, leaving the plot unresolved. Framed. This is the framed card. The character is being set up as the fall guy. An unwitting pawn in someone else's game. The character is not guilty of the accusations made. Or perhaps it is a willing sacrifice to cover for someone else. What is really going on here? And they suggest drawing another character card to determine who is using the situation to implicate the antagonist. That kind of thing. Related. The character is somehow related to the protagonist. Time's up. Character succeeds in their goal earlier than expected. Disaster! All that is planned comes to naught. It is a cataclysmic event, changes the... And, so they have conspiracy, there's a coerced, someone's coerced, disruptive. It says something disruptive happens. Someone is protected, something is controlled. There's a deception going on. All of these are possibilities. And so these are all things, what can happen. If, for example, we were doing, say, like, for example, we were doing a Cthulhu scenario, right? So if I, like, randomly pull a card, there's an aristocrat of some kind. This is I'm going to use the modern, so it's 1920s, right? So we're going to say that there is a socialite character that's involved in doing something. This was the character cards, and there's an organization. Organization says business uprising. When an industry reacts to a situation, often it can bring great consequences into play. So, like modern, it says stock market stand downs, Tea Party protests. It says hostile takeover. So. So it takes place in the 1920s, so a lot of... If we say this is close to 29, terrible things are happening in the stock market. Let's say a socialite who's been dabbling in who's been playing in the stock market, and that's where they get most of their money from. And something terrible is about to happen. So, like, motive, right? The motive card I'm drawing here is revenge. That's always a good one. Dish best served cold. Revenge is a great motivator and a cause of many misdeeds. Not always about violent retribution. Revenge can be as simple as proving a person wrong or heaping humiliation upon an often undeserving target. So this socialite is either the target of or the one who is trying to get some kind of financial revenge on somebody in the stock market. A thing which is probably a thing that can happen. I know we're saying Call of Cthulhu, though. And thus far, this is very mundane. But if we draw a random method card, protection, paid for by cash or favors. This method involves ensuring the safety of people and/or property. This method often involves a service without malice, sometimes against guaranteed action, sometimes just as an insurance for general threats. For targeted protection, such as that used by standover types, use the violence method. I feel like this is something where it's like there's a trick involved, right? Someone is selling methods that they think is going to involve some kind of monetary protection. Will prevent, protect you from possible crashes in the market. But maybe it's true, maybe it's not. Maybe that's the implement of revenge. It has to be in some way the implement of revenge, so it's got to be like someone's being sold a bill of goods, as it were, right? Result. I just pull one of these at random. Promote theology! Which works nicely since I said this was for Call of Cthulhu, right? The advancement of the dogma of a religion. When the cry of "my God is the right God" goes out, many actions become justified. This can be anything from handing out leaflets door to door, standing in a town square, or shouting about the one truth, or killing bystanders for their perceived guilt. So let's say someone is being indoctrinated into a cult. We say that, say, this socialite or someone they know is believe they have some sort of arcane protection of their funds, or they're being drained of funds, ruined, so that they will only be able to turn to this cult that wants something from them. And let's see if we have randomly a twist that we throw in here. Conspiracy. Really? I hadn't even imagined. It isn't just this character who's involved in the plot. The rabbit hole goes further down. As more players get involved, the plot thickens. Do the conspirators remain unseen? Are they even after the same goal? It says, draw another 2 character cards, more for added complexity to determine the partners in the plot. Which can easily be done, right? So, if we say there are more people involved, I got a, so yes, you got the ruler and member cards. And so the ruler is the ruler of a nation, often with absolute control over their domain and subjects. In present day, it says a president, a prime minister, a chancellor. So a high political figure, right, is involved in this. And then a member of an organization, the gears in the machine of an organization with influence of a small following or team, often has lofty dreams of ascending. This can be like a manager, a lieutenant, or an organizer, right? So what we have here is basically the idea that I think that what I would do with that is that there is a head of state that they want to either is a member of the cult or that they want to draw into the cult. I think the target is either the head of state or the socialite, right? We can say it's the president of the United States, one of the ones from the 1920s. I cannot, off of the top of my head, suddenly remember. Let's see, U.S. presidents, 1920s. Where Warren Harding, 1921 to 23. Wait, who was president in 29? Calvin Coolidge. Oh God. President Coolidge, who was famous for doing very little, is I don't know. You try to draw him. We'd better say he's already in the cult, because if you try to draw him into trying to draw him into anything is just an exercise in futility, from what I understand. That was, it sort of led to the it was this sort of led to that joke when he died, and I think this was who members of the was a member of the Algonquin Round Table, Dorothy Parker probably, who they came to them and said the president has died, and she looked up and said, "How can you tell?" It's very important that he take a nap every day. Very important. That's all I know about Calvin Coolidge. But anyway, if we say that part of the reason why he seems to do nothing is that he is actually, say, I don't know, a worshiper of Nyarlathotep, and or is somehow involved in that organization, in a cult of Nyarlathotep. Most of the grunt work is done by a lieutenant, say someone in the Secret Service that gets sent out to try to recruit this aristocrat, this socialite, who might be, if it's in an RPG, let's say it's one of the PCs, and who's looking for, places, higher places in society, has been having a rough time in the stock market. They're being promised some kind of protection from someone who's in government, is offering them this protection for their money, because there's rumors of some problems in the stock market. Perhaps there might be a crash coming. We don't know. But what happens is they slowly find themselves drained of both funds and hope, because Nyarlathotep is looking perhaps for some sort of sacrifice or access to something, perhaps a library of some kind that the socialite has access to, and it is promoting their theology. So that is the plot. That's an example of how one uses these plot builder cards. Someone moved Coolidge's rubber stamp. That's really what it was. It's really the stamp is really the president more than the president. But anyway, so that's an example of how I would use plot builder cards, right? If I wanted to actually sit down and do a whole thing. And you can do this with anything, as long as you're applying some kind of a framework, right? And so that is created, it says here, there are words on the bottom of the box. Created by Luke Pillar, Ian Wright, Thomas Coyne, and Jazzy Bear Brown, it says. MN Games, 2015. I could not find their website. But let me see if I can... Let me see if I can find... what these are about. Here, if I can find out more information about them. Kick track. So Plot Builder rebooted, it says. This is probably the one that I backed. Yes, apparently I did. It was created by MN Games, which I will look at in a moment. I hope you're using your plot builder. Yes, thank you. In Brisbane, Australia. Luke Pillar. Let me see. But the thing is, when I try to go to the website that it lists here, mn-games.com, it I get nowhere. Instead, my ISP tries to direct me to other places. So I begin to worry. That perhaps these too might be out of print and no longer available. Luke Pillar. That's it. My God. He created a reference sheet for something called Rogue Planet. You know, this is, yeah. Brisbane Lions. He's doing a lot of gaming, apparently. A lot of different things are going on in his life. So, well, I guess those have fallen out of print as well. I'm trying to bring resources to people, and none of them are available. God damn it! So I get these things through Kickstarter. That's basically, I guess, what I'm saying here. And so, like, it's again, this is something I guess one would have to look for on eBay. Dag nabbit, there are things like these coming out all the time. I've been doing this for an hour. I'm gonna have to actually probably gonna have to stop soon. I didn't think I'd get into as much detail as I'm getting into right now. But let's see. I think that okay, something that I know for a fact is available right now. There's a game recently came out called Dakuma. Actually, that's not so much a game in and of itself. But I'm not going to go into huge detail right now about how it works because I'm going to probably need to go soon. But these are lovely cards. They are created by Kimmy Hughes of the Happy Jacks RPG Network. Just came out not too long ago. Should absolutely be available. And these help, I've been using these to help sort of, if we get stuck when creating connections between characters or setting things up. So they are tarot cards. But they're divided up a very specific way. You have these red cards. These are very delightful, pretty cards. That provide character connections. So, for example, this is the Ten of Cups, right? And it says you shared a deep desire or ambition with blank. What made you trust them? Or if the card comes out reversed, you shared a heartbreak or dark secret with blank. What made you trust them? So little background things that you can have between your PCs. This is very specifically for RPGs. I think you could probably use them for writing also. And, these are like just character connections, things that, impressions that you have of other characters in your group. It's, that blank will protect your group no matter the cost. This is the Four of Wands. Or inverted. You think that blank will cut and run if things get risky. So you basically, you sort of, and you do this consensually. This isn't necessarily just something where you say, hey, this is what I think of you. You draw the card and you talk to the other player about it and you figure it out, right? And there are rules in here that talk about different modes of using these. But it has those cards. It has two other types of cards in here, the way they've been labeled. The purple cards and the blue cards. So the blue cards in Dakuma have to do with locations, prompts for locations, so that you're setting up for the game. So, for example, this is the Knight of Pentacles. They're lovely cards they've put together. So, for example, it says, our location has a major benefit or advantage over other locations like it. What is that benefit? Or, inverted, our location has a major flaw compared to other locations like it. What is that flaw? And really, these are just question prompts. Basically, things for you to talk about as a group and figure out. The stabbiest of tarot cards is the Ten of Swords, as many of us know. And it says, for example, someone you idolized in our location has let you down. What was it? How did they let you down? And then inverted it says, you idolize someone in our location. Who is it and how are they inspirational? So that's the kind of thing you find there. And then with these purple cards. So these are prompts that involve the group as a whole. The group's history, something that has happened with the group. I'm going to show you the tower because this is the one that I happen to have drawn just now. And these are the major arcana, basically. Our group broke something important. What was it and how? Why did we break it? And the tower inverted says, our group saved something important. What was it and how did we save it? And for example, the death card says, our group is trying to change our location. What are we trying to change and why? Or inverted, it says, our group is trying to keep our location from changing. What is changing and why do we want it to stay the same? So it's these are very good prompts, I think, for things that the group is doing. The Devil card, our group owes a large debt. What do we owe and to whom? Or our group is owed a large debt. What is owed and by whom? It's inverted. So these are very, like I said, these are very cool cards. They're very attractive cards, delightful cards, very well drawn, very pretty. Very good art on these. And I think that folks should check these out. These are available. They bloody well better be. From Golden Lasso Games. So, this is, I actually interviewed Kimmy on here. She's in one of the interview segments that I use from time to time when I go to break. That you may see. It's I guess 13 for the PDF, 35 for the actual full deck of cards. The R&D for your RPG, a tarot card-inspired card game that helps the GM and their players collaboratively create all the important details for their campaign, including key locations, character connections, and setting conflicts. Plus, Takuma can be paired with any tabletop RPG setting or system, including D&D, Savage Worlds powered by the Apocalypse Pathfinder, and more. So you never have to worry about compatibility. Takuma uses a unique set of question cards that gives the whole experience a feeling of mystical interconnectedness. As if Destiny herself is guiding the campaign, Takuma saves the GM a ton of prep time and can be easily customized to focus on or exclude specific aspects of campaign creation. You can use it to add depth and to a pre-written adventure or to create a homebrewed world from scratch. Best of all, this big world-building tool fits in a little card box. There are no books to lug around. Yes. It's a delightful thing, and I've been using it more recently. And they've got descriptions of information about these things, basically, and links to actual plays using them. And so I would recommend checking them out. I got them originally through, I believe that they did a Kickstarter. Which is where I get most of my stuff, I guess, these days. I have a bit of a Kickstarter problem. And they're available directly from the Golden Lasso Games website. I can actually provide a link! I can give you a link that people can click on if they want to look at it. And so this is something that I've used a lot during Session 0 lately. to kind of help give, build stuff when it's like, if folks don't have ideas automatically. Yes, it was in fact a Kickstarter. This was the Kickstarter. It was very good. So something that I like having and you can actually get now. Amazingly, it is a thing you can in fact pick up if you so desire. It is, dare I say it, it is even available on Drive-Thru-RPG. You can actually, so this is a thing that is currently available. It is not, it's not like practically a decade old and out of print, like everything else that I use apparently. So it is a thing you can pick up if you wish, and a thing that I find very useful. I will now put these cards back in their box and talk about something else. One deck which has gone out of print, Invisible Sun Sooth deck. It has. It has, hasn't it? Damn them! Well, that very neatly brings me to the MCG things. Because I happen to have a Sooth deck right here. Yeah, these, Invisible Sun, it was a Kickstarter. And, while the game itself is still available, the Sooth deck, unfortunately, is probably not currently available, at least not like this. And if Noble Knight has raised their price, it's my fault, Unstable Deus says. Aha! Been buying them out, have we? So Invisible Sun, I'm not going to talk at length about it. I ran a campaign of it on here that for about like 3 years. Off and on. It is a surreal game. It is, yeah. The physical edition of it is not really currently available for the most part. I think there may be some individual books available. Its core thing. It's available as a available. It comes in this delightful box. You see, and you can the cards fit into if you bought them by itself. It says, I didn't buy them out, I bought mine, and after I paid for the decks, I bought 2. Then I informed them it was out of print. Oh, how dare you, sir! How dare you! How dare you! How dare you! As a discerning individual, you very clearly have just sort of got in when the market was available, and then you informed them. You very shrewd. You very shrewd person, you. Yeah. So this is the Sooth deck that and it has. It's very. These cards are very vague concepts, but are. And yes, you live 15 minutes from Noble Knight. Ah, excellent. I see how it is. The Lost Star, the Doctor, the Messiah, these are very archetypal, these cards. And they are round, yes, so they do look like coasters. Misunderstood Beast, the Golden Ship, an excellent card to get. And, so this deck that I got, during the Kickstarter, You can find these around, you know, eBay or what have you also. But there are short descriptions in here. There's a little fold out that has short descriptions for them. Just generic meanings for them. But the more in-depth descriptions are in one of the Invisible Sun books. It's all faded from my mind now. The Gate. Of the 4 core books. And so essentially it just means a lot of... But it was very interesting, right? Because it would provide... It would provide ways that that now I still use these from time to time. I've been using them a little bit in Don't Rest Your Head. Just when I need a general prompt, sort of a weird prompt, something that gives me something to chew on for a scene, you know. So for example, I'm gonna just for folks who haven't seen any of that, I'm gonna just draw a card really quickly and just sort of explain what it says about the card. If I can actually pull the information up here. Yes, they're in the gate. So just have to pull this up here real quick. The gate. There it is. There is the gate. So let's say if I draw a card at random from in here. This is let me draw a more let me find a more interesting card. I'm sorry. I drew the Eternal Mountain and I thought, why? The Lucky Coin, that came up a lot. Just find a good card and a less good card. The Empty Gallows. The Empty Gallows was a good card for people. Mysterious Rune, that came up fairly frequently. So as we just look. Here we go, the Jackal also. So say for example, let me see if I can show you here. I can show you my what I'm looking at here. This is a page from the from the gate where it describes the lucky coin, for example, and it's a notions card. It has 4 suits. One of the suits is notions. Its meanings are good fortune, wealth, freedom, unexpected luck, and unstructured. And I would pull up a card, so in the midst of this, and I would read out. We put a lot of value in objects. We place a lot of importance in their presence in our lives. Some people might have a favorite shirt, a trusty handkerchief, or of course a lucky coin. Armed with a talisman such as this, no harm can befall us. We only barely understand the truth of such things. The luck they bring, if they work, never comes in an expected form, and then you have a way of sort of using it in divination. Something good is coming. It's likely nothing, because these cards existed in the game, right? It's likely nothing one planned on or was expecting, and it can come in many forms: success, money, or the elimination of a problem. The lucky coin is a positive card turn, and suggests that the person in question has perhaps less structure weighing upon them than they thought. Fewer things for the marionette, so to speak. They are more free than they believed. Feel free to act and do as they please. And it suggests things that can happen in the game. An NPC comes into great deal of wealth. A group of wild, unfettered individuals is involved in matters at hand. And ways of generating joy. Ways of generating despair. Someone else gets lucky. So different ways to use it. And you can use this. You note, it's for Invisible Sun, but you can use this for any game. If you think about it. So one of these other cards I pulled just a moment ago, the Jackal. Its meanings are intimidation, power, ruthlessness, dark magic, and necromancy. This intimidating fellow is a dread figure, to be certain. The Jackal represents everything nons, that's non-magical folk. Fear about Vizsla, magical folk. Threatening display... who wield power very specifically. Threatening displays of destructive power, dark, soul-twisting spells, ruthless, unforgiving magic that taps into death, demons, and worse. Power for power's sake, he is selfish. A selfish, megalomaniacal figure, willing to do whatever it takes to get what he wants. The Jackal is the nemesis of the Mysteries family. See? Nemesis. It's like say, every suit of cards in Tarot has a royal court, right? A king, a queen, a knight, and a page, typically, right? And so these, every card suit, the Mysteries suit in this case, has a nemesis, and a few other things in this. Many believe he is a literal being, not just a symbol on a card. Some believe all the royalty cards show real immortal beings. If he is real, he is some kind of diabolic figure that not only uses dark magic, but offers it to others willing to use its methods. In divination, while most see the Jackal as a dire omen of dark magic and ruthlessness, some embrace the power he represents. To be certain, this card turn can be a threat, or it can be an offer. The person in question may want to take precautions against the effects of hexes, or other dangerous magic, the intervention of demonic spirits, or simply an angry Vizsla. The Jackal can, in some instances, be equated to any figure in power, not just magical power, or authority, but even then, usually only to a ruthless or intimidating figure. Or it's a game narrative. Demons get involved, and NPCs utilizes powerful and probably dark magic. Something important is destroyed by magic. The dead get involved. See, this basically, if we were to apply this to the Cthulhu example we used earlier, then that means that I would have said that. So Nyarlathotep is very interested in what you're doing right now. For example, just off the top of my head, one can do it that way. But it's, Jackal bides his time, waiting to escort us into death personally. So a lot of different uses for this. As for the Sooth deck, again, something you'd have to look for on eBay probably, or Noble Knight Games at a terribly inflated price. Thanks to Unstable Deus. Thanks so much for that. But no, it's a thing that one can one can utilize for a number of different games. Monty Cook Games also has a few other things that I make use of from time to time. For their Cypher system, they have an NPC deck, and this basically it's very simple. You draw a card, it has an NPC on it. This is Stephanie Rampel, or if you're in a game with that uses weirder names, Stellaris, for example. It says appearance is robust, demeanor is apathetic, personality is egotistic. Modifications you can make: swimming, climbing, and jumping related tasks at +1 level. Distinguishing feature item: an obviously off-broken nose. And the cool thing about these things is you don't have to use everything that's on the card. You could just use the name and then pull another card and say for example, this Beverly Moore card. Demeanor warm, personality generous. If you want to substitute things out, swap things out, you can build a whole person this way. There's a distinguishing feature of crumpled photo or drawing of a young girl, and this is the Gary Dalton card. So these are just basically things you can do if you need a person, right? You use it to generate a person. Just different things about them. And yeah, the only part of it that's mechanically involved in the cipher system is under modifications. And even that you can use extrapolate to mean something else, like a deception task at +2 levels. It's very easy. It's like whatever system you're using, this person's good at deception. So, very useful for that. You just suddenly need an NPC. They also have something if you're playing surreal games or weird games. There's this deck that they came out for their game, The Strange, which is that's a game where it's like you're members of a group hopping from reality to reality. Effectively, it's not quite that simple. Recursion to recursion, they'd say. But that's the general gist of it. All manner of settings in one setting. It's a reality hopping game. And these are more vague things that can show up. So like past life experience. And so these are things I can use in is it vivid hallucinations of being someone else, long dead, reveal actual information. Or an individual can recall the life and many specific memories of hundreds of dead people, channeling the dead as if they were back in the living world for a brief time and learning much thereby. This is very, I mean, and then also other things say like mutation. Eyes. Longevity. Different effects, right? Chair. The chair tries to eat anyone who sits in it, it says. Ancient. Like I said, vague concepts, all of these, but useful. The way that I use them is that they say to use them as a basis for a recursion, or just for an idea, or as an idea in and of itself, or as a complete idea, which is what more the final text is. And the thing is, it's very, because it's so vague and also slightly weird, I use it in Don't Rest Your Head anytime someone buys a drink or a thing to eat or an item, and I look at a thing and I'm like, okay, faster than light, it says. Now, by itself, this card says, you know, this device can boost an engine to travel at faster than light speeds. Or further, in more in-depth, a vehicle capable of faster than light flight emerges into the universe of normal matter and remains capable of attaining superliminal speeds of a brief time, long enough to reach one or two nearby stars. But say someone was being offered a thing, right? In, say, the bazaar in Don't Rest Your Head. This does not mean a spaceship's about to appear. What it does mean is that, say they drink something that gives them the impression they're in many places at once, or it gives them the impression it's like you have found yourselves drifting among the stars. And perhaps they're really there, or perhaps they're only there for a moment. They're popping in and out, traveling, perhaps faster than light, to different places. It's like fever dreams, yes. It's any number of effects can happen. It's just all you got to do is just draw the thing and riff on it, really. And so that I think helps, you know, for you know. There's a police card in here, which is very dangerous, and Don't Rest Your Head. You hear ticking. The clockwork police are coming. Past life experience. You imagine you're someone else. You look through this window and you see yourself as someone else. A lot of different things that you can use this for. This is available. These are things that are available from the Money Cook Games site. And things, you know, if folks want to use it. There's a Kickstarter of sorts. It wasn't on Kickstarter itself. It was a crowdfunding thing they did recently for a set of books, for a set of things they're calling The Weird. And there's a deck of cards that I'm getting from that. It is more weird stuff that I'm going to be very delighted to see when I get a chance. Now, there's one other generator I'm gonna talk about before I go, before I dive off to have lunch. And I don't actually. The problem is, I've looked at videos on how to use this, and it's just sort of it's fallen out of my brain exactly what this is. But let me see if I can find the description of this. Folks, there's a Kickstarter that happened recently that he's done several of these. Apparently, they've done several of these. We have a lot of things on a single card, and it can be a little bit intimidating trying to figure out how to use it. So this kind of requires looking at the looking at their tutorials to figure it out. Larcenous Designs, LLC. See, that helps me because that way I can then just sort of look it up to better explain what it is that I am talking about. These are basically prompt cards. There we go. The Game Master's Apprentice. There we go. Or a GMA. That they have that are available. Looking to see if okay, their storefront is basically sort of what they put on drive-thru for the most part. I will show you that. That is here. It's this set of different cards. They have a base deck, which I do not have. This deck of cards that I have here is the Weird Horror deck. It was what was available at the time. For the Kickstarter that I got. I may get the base deck at some point. But essentially, this gives a much better view of one of these cards, for example. So, like, you have how likely is a thing for a thing to be bad, for a thing to be even, for a thing to be good. You have random numbers that show up. Random die rolls. If you don't want to roll a die, you can just draw the card. You have adjectives. Or adjectives. These aren't adjectives. My God, man. My grandmother was an English teacher, and she would be very disappointed in me right now. You have different words, right? To describe things. Convince is a verb. Complex is an adjective. Legend is a way you can describe something, or it's an actual legend. But these are just sort of images, things one can use if one needs. It's very vague, a lot of them, but there's a lot in one card. And it's a full deck of cards that you can pull things out and use. Best if you use these with the tutorials that they have out for them. I have not used these much. I think I've used them a tiny bit. But you know, anytime you need to just grab a thing, these are useful for that. And these are available on Drive-Thru RPG. The base deck, which is perhaps slightly less confusing looking, looks like this. And again, things that just give impressions that you can use piecemeal. You just need to come up with a thing. Items you can find. What is a thing that might start things off? Where are we? You know. So, just things that sort of help with that in general, right? You need a name. You need to assign a virtue to someone. You need to assign a vice to someone. These symbols also have meaning. That show up from time to time. So I think it's very useful. The physical cards right now, they're running for like 20 bucks. And so, you know, these are things that so sooner or later you're going to need more story. These are things I think can come in handy. I haven't tried them out a lot yet, but perhaps I shall at some point soon. But in any case, those are all of the things I was going to show right now. I have, you know, I use a number of websites also sometimes. There's a random thing generator website that I use a lot. I use the fantasy name generator is getting quite robust. I use that quite a lot more than I used to if I need a name. But there are all these kinds of things you can use sort of as prompts, springboards for what you want to actually do in games or in writing or what have you. So I encourage folks to go and check those things out. Thank you all very much for hanging out. I am going to go and grab lunch. I think that, this has been a delightful substitute for for what I was going to do and unfortunately couldn't do today. I want to thank Unstable Deus very much for suggesting it. So you go forth and draw prompts from things. Very useful for especially for the ADHD brain. All of these. But yes, thank you all very much for coming. Do take care. I think that'll be about it. I don't know if anyone else is streaming right now. We might go say hi to somebody after I dive off. But we'll see. We shall see. We might do that. But in the meantime, folks, let's see. What do I have happening right now? Today is Saturday. So next week, with any luck, we're going to be jumping back into Electric Bastion Land, which is a game Sarah was running. That's going to be on Tuesdays. And toward the end of that week, hopefully we will be jumping back into Don't Rest Your Head and getting that going again. I needed some time away. As I said yesterday, I needed time away. It had been about a month since I'd streamed up until a few days ago. And I appreciate it. The folks coming back and saying hi very much. I just, you know, I had basically a lot of real life stuff going on. Slowly doing better as one, you know, things happen and you got to recover. So that is happening now. Thank you all very much for coming and hanging out. I appreciate it. Take care, and I will see you all of a sudden.